Running your own business means dealing with all types of clients. Some are totally amazing, and some are very challenging, and some can ghost you. But the secret is, don't take it personally. Hi, I'm Julie. I'm 61 and I run my own business from home. And I make videos about what it's like to do that, what it's like to run your own business in your latter years. And here I'm going to talk about clients who have left me for various reasons and how I deal with it. So I hope you enjoy. I have some clients that have been with me since the beginning of my journey, and I have some clients who are brand new, and not one of them owes me anything. This is just business. I perform a set of agreed tasks. I provide a service. I am not their best friend, and I'm also not their mother. I can perform wonders, but I'm not a magician. Some listen to my advice and some don't. It's very frustrating. I'm a bookkeeping superhero, but I'm also human. I used to emotionally invest into each client and their business, but now I've learned the hard way. I am going to provide the very best service that I can, but I am not going to go above and beyond and certainly stop doing any work that is not being paid for. Some clients actually promote my services, and for that they get a reward of no price increase the following year, and I think that's fair. I have learnt to be a good listener, and I know I provide a valued service. I am very mindful that I may be the only one that they can talk about business with. Some partners, friends, even parents just don't understand. It's not that they won't listen, and they probably do have very long conversations with each of these relatives, but they might not understand. And I may be the only one that does understand what they're talking about. And sometimes that can be a very valuable thing to do for a client. And I'm very, very mindful of that. So I've got some examples of the reasons that clients gave when they decided to give me notice, when they wanted to leave me. So a recent client said to me that, and I quote, "My accountant says I need a bookkeeper who is better for my business." All bookkeepers are not equal, I will give them that. However, if you're a qualified bookkeeper, you've been trained in everything that a bookkeeper knows. And yes, I do get that some bookkeepers will niche into some sectors and probably be more aware of certain aspects of bookkeeping better because they do it on a daily basis. But the sector this particular client was in was nothing that was beyond my scope. And actually, I have had some experience with the sector that he was in. So I knew without, too much problem that what he actually needed. And I just think that I need to read between the lines. So to my understanding of running a business for 4 years, I would say that he wants to find somebody who's cheaper than me and that can provide a very similar service, but it's doubtful because I do a bespoke service and not many bookkeepers do the same sort of service that I do, in the fact that the reports that I do each month and the financial coaching that I do to help small business owners understand their reports, so be it P&L, balance sheet, etc., things like that. So it's quite interesting when I hear their reason for wanting to leave, because I do always ask. I say, well, can you give me some feedback on the service that you have received so far? And if there's anything that disappointed you, and can I have improved in any way? And the reason that I do that is that I want to understand what it is that this client didn't decide that was valuable enough to him that he's decided to go elsewhere. And it can be for all different manner of reasons. So let me give you another example. I'm going to do my own bookkeeping from now on because it's cheaper. So, and this one does make me laugh. So you think that the 40 plus years of experience that I've got that you can instantly understand that, or you can chat GPT the answers, or you can assume that the AI within certain accounting software will know the answers. Well, there's a big lesson going to be learnt soon, because that's not the case. But, you know, what can you say to somebody like that? All I can say is thank you, and I wish you all the best. So the next, I keep wanting to say excuse because it's just the way that I interpret it. But okay, the next reason that was given to me from a client for wanting to leave in the past I mean, these are all over the past 4 years. They're not over any particular period of time. So it's not like I've, you know, suddenly had an influx or an outflux, I should say, of clients leaving me. But yeah, it's just I've just collated all the ones that I've been given. And these aren't all of them by any means, but these are just the ones that make me chuckle. So number 3, I'm going back to my old accountant because they live closer. Now, what on earth distance has anything to do with bookkeeping? I have no idea. This client came to me with questions, and a lot of questions, because he said his accountant and his bookkeeper within this accounting practice never came back to him. He could never get hold of them, and he couldn't just drop into the practice because he had to make an appointment. Now, none of that is out of the ordinary. That is perfectly normal practice. And if you've got like an office in a town, then, you know, no accountant is going to want you to drop by, because their time is very, very structured. And generally they have a timetable of what work they're going to do and what meetings they've got, etc., which is perfectly normal within business and perfectly acceptable. So for him to have turned out, and also he was one of these people that overthought everything. I had him on WhatsApp, business WhatsApp, and he would almost daily be sending me a question of some sort, which I answered him because, you know, it's just, you know, it's part of the service that I provide and part of the reason why I'm not the cheapest bookkeeper. But I was quite happy to do that because I was helping him and I was providing him value in his running of his business. So for him to then turn around, and I think possibly 3 or 4 months into our business relationship, he's told me that he's going to go back to his old accountant because they live closer. Now, what he thinks that that's going to achieve, I have absolutely no idea, because unless he makes an appointment, that bookkeeper is probably not going to want him to drop in. So again, I wished him well and moved on. So the most interesting one, and probably the most frustrating one, is when they say, actually when they don't say, when they completely ghost you. And this has only happened once. And this was actually with a client that I used to work with, and I thought I had a very good relationship with, because we'd known each other for many years and had kept in touch after we, you know, both left the business that we were employed by. And he came to me when he was running his own business. And at first I gave a lot of my services for free, and I only charged him a nominal amount, and most of that was to pay for the accounting software. As the time went on and he wanted, or he required, his business required, I should say, more and more of my time, I did start charging him more than a nominal amount of money, but still well below the going rate really for what he was receiving. And then I knew the business wasn't doing particularly well, and I'd already given my feedback to him and I'd suggested a lot of things and that. And anyway, the business went under. It stopped trading, and I knew that was going to happen because we'd had lots of conversations. But gradually, over the period of a month or two, the conversations stopped. He stopped calling me, and I wasn't able to get hold of him when I called him. So normally he would pick up straight away when he saw my number, but that sort of went off. So I thought, well, this is a bit odd. And then after that, I didn't receive any communication from him whatsoever. So literally he ghosted me. and he did owe me money, which actually is a bit of a kick in the guts because of the friendship that we'd had for well over 10 years. But there you go. What can you do? What can you say? You just got to mark it up to experience, learn a lesson and move on. Business is business. And then the final reason, I did say reason, and I managed not to say excuse. So the last reason, number 5, is my accountant can do it cheaper as part of a package, which again makes me smirk. There is no accountant known to me that I have come across that will do what I do, provide the monthly services that I do, and provide the monthly reports and the monthly bespoke video that goes with these reports cheaper than I can, because accountants have far more overheads than I do, and there is no way that he's getting the same service for less than the money that I was charging him. So I interpret this as he has decided it would be cheaper for his business if he stopped having the monthly reporting, and that the accountant would just do the transactional stuff. Initially, I thought it was a bit of a kick in the guts, but it's business. So you just have to chalk it up to experience and move on, and wish them well. And I do generally, genuinely wish them all the best and hope that their business is very, very successful. So no one has ever come back to me and said that I've made a mistake, or that my services are not what they wanted, or that it's rubbish or anything along those lines. But when you get a client who doesn't want your services any longer, you can't help sometimes but take it personally, especially in the early days of setting up a bookkeeping practice. You can't help it. You do take everything personally because you put so much effort and so much heart and soul into the services that you provide. But you have to grow a thicker skin, I think, and I do keep drilling into myself that is business, and they've got to do what they think is best for their business, the same as I have to do what I think is best for mine. I will say that it does initially invoke imposter syndrome, and it's difficult for it not to. The first thought I think you get when you see an email come through, because it's generally neat, and when that comes through, it does kind of like, you get that jolt when you read it, because you've got to remember that I'm a small business, and each client has a spot in my income stream. So if I'm going to lose one, I really need to replace it. However, again, over time and with the experience gained, I have to stop myself from getting the imposter syndrome, because I know that it's not anything that I have done in the business or personally. Certainly haven't upset anybody. I do sometimes wonder, though, at 61, why am I putting myself through all this anxiety and stress? But unfortunately, when you run your own business, it's par for the course. But if I want to run my own business, at least for the next 9 to 10 years, then I'm just going to have to get used to it, because and harden my heart, grow a thicker skin, whatever the saying is for it. But yeah, I just have to keep chalking these up to experience and just move on and forget about it. The reason why I should never take it personally are, I've got notes down here. People leave for all sorts of reasons, and most have absolutely nothing to do with you. It could just be the mindset that they're in. It could be that they want to take their business in a slightly different direction. It could be that they've had a personal upset and they're not thinking straight. It could be any manner of reasons, and you just have to stop and say and think to yourself that it's not you, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with you. It's not a friendship breakup, even though it can sometimes feel like it. It's purely business, and I do have to get my head around that a little bit more, I think. Very much. I do just get so personally invested in trying to do a good job, especially if it's somebody that I already know. And I don't think I'll ever be able to stop myself from doing that, because this is the person I am. But if I'm going to do that, then I've also got to cope with the downside if they do decide to leave me. What I am trying to drum into my brain is that they're freeing up a space for a client that's going to come in and really value my services. And that's an important lesson to learn, because you can let go of one client. You just think that, well, that's now a space that they freed up that I can now offer to somebody else who may appreciate me and may even need my services more than this client did. And it's kind of like a mind shift change that I just have to keep running with. And finally, the most important one for me, I shouldn't allow it to affect my emotional well-being. And that sounds easy, but it's not as easy as that sometimes, because when you already have anxiety, when something like losing a client happens, it can elevate that further. And I have to be very careful of that. I have to say to myself, you have enough money to pay your bills, so why are you worrying so much about it? The worst case scenario would be that you don't have enough money to pay the bills, and then you should start to worry. But, at the moment, it's not like that. So if one is going, I have the space for another one. And that's happened over the past 4 years. Generally, it just takes me one night, because if a client emails me, say, at 12 o'clock on one day, by the time I've gone to bed and woken up the next day, it doesn't feel as raw. And I can then, work on my strategy for replacing that client and filling that spot. So it's never as bad as it seems. So my takeaway for compiling this video have been quite helpful to me. So I hope you might find them helpful too. So my first takeaway is to keep listening, keep learning about their world, and keep your boundaries. Every client's story, good or bad, teaches you something for the next time. Now that's really valuable, is always try and learn from experiences, and you can't go wrong. It's got to make you stronger, and it's got to empower your business mind more if you learn from experiences. I'm not going to say mistakes, because I don't believe I've made mistakes. The third one is, life is too short to worry. Something else always turns up. And this is a big one for me. That was quite a learning curve, is that initially in the first couple of years when clients left, and that was something that I didn't even think about when I started a business. I thought that I would get clients and they'd stay with me forever, but that's not the case. There will always be those that are economical clients. So they will come and go depending on whether they can find a cheaper bookkeeper, or if they, maybe stop trading for whatever reason, and they move on. And that's fine. Life is too short to worry, and something always turns up. As long as you've got a strategy for obtaining new clients, I think it also gives you space to think about the services that you want to provide, and maybe tweak your marketing to adjust to that too. I mean, we've got to remember that MTD for income tax is coming up very soon in April 26. So we are all, as a bookkeeping community, expecting an influx of new clients, because they will suddenly realise that they've got to start submitting quarterly returns to HMRC, and will have no idea about how to go about doing that. So we are going to be expected to wave our magic wands and sort it out for them. So final thoughts on this. I take pride in the work that I do for the clients that value me. And I think that's all that I wanted from running my own business. So on that note, thank you for watching. If you watched to the end, thank you very much. If you've liked this and it has given you some value, then please could you give me the thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos about how I'm running my business at 61, then please hit the subscribe button. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.